Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week we're revisiting the Track from Scratch project that I started a little while ago, and I paused the project for a bit because the views weren't all that good, but surprisingly when I stopped I had quite a few people asking for it. So the summary of that is the people who watched it really enjoyed it, and the people who didn't watch it obviously couldn't care less. But I don't like leaving things unfinished. So here we are. Now this week is going to be basically a bit of a recap because it's been a while, as I said, and also maybe work on a bit of structure in the hope that the structure will basically reignite some passion for it. So let's have a listen to what we currently have. I currently have it here set out in session view, basically just while I was working on ideas. So this was our intro or early part of the track. What do we have? We've got kick and bass. A bit of groove in that pattern as well from the MIDI. We have some percussion. Some snares and ghost snares. Some open hats come in then. And then a bit of a snare layer thing, which to be honest I'm not quite sure I like. I need to look into that. And then in terms of Atmos we have this, which is a lot of it's repeated. Let's start at the top. We've got the ubiquitous squelch. And then we've got these kind of atmospheric things. And the atmospheric stuff is obviously repeated way too often, so that's one of the first things to change. So let's go over to arrangement view. I don't know what we have here. Let's delete everything. And then first of all, we're going to drop in the kick and the bass. Let's extend this to 32 bars, and we'll also drag out our clip. And then we will also consolidate that clip so it's 1, and then also consolidate that clip so it's 1. We have some automation here for some reason. Let's get rid of that. And then we're going to duplicate this a number of times. So now we have a 9-minute project time. The 9 minutes in itself isn't important, just so long as it's more than the typical 7 or 8 really that we're going for. Now the first thing I'm going to do is drag all of this across to bar 17 for two reasons. One, because I don't like working hard up against the left or the 1. I like to have a bit of a gap there. And we will also use this for our intro when the time comes. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that 8 would take us up to the 7 minutes 20 mark, 7:15 actually. So now we can delete these. And then we want the break to happen around basically a bit over halfway. So let's say around 55 or 60% way through the track. So that would be around here, let's say. So let's put a little gap in. Let's do 16 bars. We'll do the same thing there. Let's now add another MIDI track at the top, right at the top, and we're going to make this one pink. Why not? And they're essentially going to replicate this. And then we'll start drawing in our sections. So think about what we want. So obviously this is the break. So we want the proper peak of the track to be in this section here, in this 32 bars. We also want this section to be full of energy as well. And then we want to also build up to that also. And then here perhaps we maybe want to just tease in a few of these leads that are about to come. And then here we have a bit of Atmos, and here is basically still the introduction. So we're going to use this top bar to give us a bit of structure. So the top one, Atmos, and obviously these aren't mutually exclusive, so if for the next one I write Atmos as well, it doesn't mean we can't have leads in there also, but it just gives an idea of what the focus is going to be in that section. So here we're going to introduce and tease some of the leads that we have, and the leads are going to be in here. Full leads, we also want here to be full leads. And then here we're going to say start dropping out, the leads that is. And then here we're going to be, this is the peak of the track. So this is full power. And then here, full power also. And by this stage, we're probably thinking the track might be getting a bit more boring and we might need to add another element or another bit of flavor to it. So let's introduce another lead also. Introduce a new lead. And then here we're going to drop some leads out. And then here, finally, obviously we have the outro. And that might be a bit too long, so let's drop that back a bit also. So the track's going to be just a bit over 7 minutes 30. Now obviously this isn't set in stone. These things will no doubt move around as we progress, but it basically just gives an idea of what we should be focusing on. And if we get stuck in one section, then we can move to the next, or if we lose sight of what we're trying to achieve in a section, then we obviously have our guidelines up here. Let's make this section, obviously want a little break in this section. And then here, let's make this one maybe 2 bars. Now the next thing we're going to do is introduce our snare, which is this one, which just is standard one on the 2 and 4. That's here. Now we don't want that to be in the intro section, we just want maybe hats to be in there, and then we're going to drop it in just to boost up the energy. Duplicate, duplicate. There we go. We probably also don't want it in the outro, so get rid of it there. Ghost snare will skip over for the moment. Ghost, the snare lay will also skip over. Let's go straight to the open hat. I think we had a couple variations here of that. No, the open hat was just the standard offbeat. It was the closed hat that we have the variation on. So that's fine. Let's drag the open hat in. And then the closed hat also. Let's audition these. We have these ones. This is the intro. This is the same. That's the same. And then we go back to the intro. So we only have 2 variants. So let's take the intro. Now it might not be there. I might change that one. We'll see. And despite it saying intro, it's probably also going to be the outro as well. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is rename this track closed hat intro, and then we'll duplicate this because I'm a simple person and I'm easily confused. But if I do that, then we have a very clear split of what's what, which is this one here. And in fact, let's do it now. Let's make this one the main, like so. And obviously it makes sense if it's the main for that to move up. I think I need to adjust the level there, but I won't worry about that just yet. I think that hat is really quite bright. But as I said, let's do that later. Then we have the crash cymbals. They're going to be obviously here. In fact, let's make, I want this to be the longer break or a longer gap. Only shortly, it's only 2 bars. And then this one to be normal, because we don't want such a dramatic change so early on in the track. We have our crash here. Let's make this one, yep. Let's make him 2. I know there's nothing in the rest of in the clip, but I like to make them longer just so they're easily visible. We probably won't need one here because we need to take down the energy, but let's just put it there for the moment. In fact, they all need to move across. And then we also have the reverse here. I think that was a reverse crash, if I'm not mistaken. There's probably also going to be something there leading up to the break, but I don't want it to be the same. In fact, these rises, they're repeated way too often, so I'm going to swap a couple of them out so it won't be as repetitive as this. Once again, it's basically just bookmarks for what will come later. I think the squelch is exactly the same on all. Yep, so let's drag one of those over. The squelch is this one. That's no doubt going to be in the intro somewhere. And this one is very rudimentary. It's absolutely not going to be as straightforward as this, but it's going to be fairly regular throughout the track. So by doing this, that means I can edit this one and then still have fresh ones that I can manipulate. So basically, let's just pick a section. For this section, the squelch is going to be basically all the way through it, but not constantly. It'll be intertwined with the leads. Then we have this haunted thing. So obviously that's very much going to be a intro sound. So let's put that here. And let's do this one every 64. So, yep, there. There we go. Then we have this one. Okay, so let's now drag these two across. And then what are we missing? We're missing this ghost layer. Right, so I don't like that. They need a lot of work, but let's put it in. Also, that is up in this ghost one. This is here. And that's no doubt going to be when we're introducing these leads. It'll get a bit of groove before we introduce those leads. Probably also when we start to drop them out, and then potentially when it's full power, but it might get a bit too busy, but we'll just put it in for now. And potentially even in this intro section here. Whoops, I did the opposite of what I was intending to do. We already have the 2-bar one. And then the final sound, which is the one I didn't like, but just for completeness, is this snare layer. It requires quite a bit of work, but maybe we can use it somewhere. And where that somewhere is going to be here, just before we drop into the break. And then potentially here also. But like I said, it does need work. Okay, so let's leave it there for this week. So now that we have the structure laid out like this, it's very clear to see what we're missing, which obviously is a lot, but the glaring omission is the leads. So in the next video, we'll focus on those, and hopefully by that stage, it will actually start to sound potentially like a track. And just to clarify once again, these parts aren't set in stone, especially this Atmos that I've just laid out in this really crude fashion here. That will absolutely be moved and changed. But I've just given a bit of break between each sound, just so we don't go absolutely insane listening to the same sound over and over. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.